Okay, this is a creator's commentary of the Soul Travelers. And the beginning of the book, how the book came to be, was basically just a compilation of notes that I've copied and pasted from multiple sources in magic and the occult. For so many years, I've been collecting these notes and collecting this information and doing all this reading, and all this reading. And it's only been applied in the movies, meaning that I've only actually went into movie symbolism. But meanwhile, I've been collecting all of this information that has nothing to do with movies, and it's just purely about the occult. The purpose of the video was to prepare you for what's out there, meaning that after you watch The Soul Travelers, you are now far more capable of picking up a book about magic or the occult and understanding what's being said. At the beginning, I had a rather condescending message to people who are going to say prove it, and I don't have any problem with prove it. I mean, I like proof too. The problem is that we all change what the definition of proof is depending on what we want to hear and what we don't want to hear. People will change the bar, will change the standard. For example, if you had this disbeliever who didn't believe in anything that involved UFOs, and you said, well, what can I do to convince you that UFOs exist? Can I show you some videos of UFOs? They would go, well, you could, but since anything can be done with video and I can fake video, that pretty much negates any film evidence I have of UFOs. You get that same person and you say, oh, here's the latest bin Laden video. They'll just take it without questioning, was it fake? So when you showed them video of the UFOs, it was, oh, that's fake, Photoshop, weather balloon, environmental or atmospheric anomaly. But then when you show them a fake video of bin Laden, they don't even question in their mind whether it's fake. And so it's very interesting how they'll take film evidence from one source, but they won't take film evidence from the other source. I know people just in my own personal circle that you could hit them over the head with quotes about the New World Order, about the Illuminati, and quotes that come from the most powerful people on the planet. You're talking about Rockefellers, you're talking about the Bushes. They won't believe you. No matter what you say to that person, they won't believe that there's something happening. But you show them something like the industry exposed, which kind of goes into the music industry, and you show Eminem and DMX talking about it, all of a sudden it's a serious issue. And you're like, hold up, now I'm glad you're with us in terms of you finally believe that there's something going on. The only problem is how selective it was, that you didn't take me seriously until I showed you a quote from Eminem. And that's the very nature of quotes. One of the things that people allow as admissible as proof is a quote. The problem is that the quote has to come from somebody we both know, or otherwise it negates the value of the quote. I could quote unquote prove everything I said in my video by using quotes, but that's not really proof, is it? I mean, it's just a bunch of quotes from random people. You can get any kind of atrocity and take an out of context snippet of the Bible and use that little snippet to justify any atrocity. So a quote isn't really categorized. You can't really call it proof. Here's another example. You have confessions. Confessions are usually proof. When somebody confesses, you use it as proof against them. Meaning, if Rockefeller, Kissinger, and Bushes confess to a new world order, some people just won't hear of it. But if bin Laden confesses to 9/11 and confesses and says, I'm going to do more damage, all of a sudden a confession is now admissible as evidence. And you're like, what's the problem? I have people here admitting outright by their own mouth that they're doing this, but you won't believe. But a confession, as long as it's a confession you wanted to hear, something that doesn't violate your senses, something that doesn't send you into discomfort, somehow a confession from bin Laden is acceptable. You find David Icke and Michael Tazarian, guys like that. I mean, I like them. They really do a good job. But look what they use as proof. You got Michael Tazarian using a repeating theme in mythology and submitting it to you as proof. He's saying that look at all the repeating themes. It's some kind of disaster, some kind of flood, some kind of war must have happened back then. And then David Icke goes and says, look at all the the retellings and how many copies of these serpent gods there are in mythology, and I mean, clearly there's a repeating theme back there, and they will submit this repeating theme as evidence. But then when it comes to a guy who was, say, born of a virgin, walks on water, heals a blind, dies and is resurrected, all of a sudden that's symbolism for the sun moving through the celestial whatever. I mean, how convenient that you used the repeating theme to support something that you liked or you didn't have a problem with, but then you got the same exact system and said, okay, well, that's obviously the Jesus story was not literal, it was symbolic, but yet there it is, it's a repeating theme, just like your flood story, just like your serpent god story, and how you turn around and use the same exact token of logic to come to completely different conclusion regarding the existence of Jesus. You know, how convenient. And it happens a lot. You know, nobody's ever mentioned to you that nobody from Masonry has ever mentioned to you that checkerboards are their symbolism for this or that. You used a repeating theme. All you had to do is see a series of pictures where every single Masonic temple or lodge has a checkerboard, and you used a checkerboard pattern on the floor, and so you used that as a repeating theme as proof, but that's not really proof. And so that kind of brings us to vampires. You know, I mean, people say, okay, well, you've got a theory, Michael. You know, you think that there are vampires out there and that they're running up they run the Illuminati, and prove it to me. The question is how? I mean, what if you're not ready for that answer? I mean, what if you're not ready for that? What you're going to do is I'm going to give you a series of quotes, but they'll just say, I don't believe those people. I'll give you a series of confessions. You'll say, I don't believe that. I mean, you say, prove it to me, Michael. And I say, how? What really? How? I don't have it on video. And even if I did and you weren't ready to hear it, what would you say? You'd say, that's Photoshopped. That's just video editing. I mean, you would make up excuses just so you can maintain what you currently believe and not have to abandon it. So when people say, well, okay, you've got a theory, prove it. Sometimes, most of the time, many times, they won't let you. You know, it's like that scene in They Live, where the white guy is trying to get the black guy to put on the glasses so that he can see what the white guy sees, but he just won't do it. So it's like the black guy saying, prove it to me, but then when somebody holds out the glasses, you bash him away. Well, that's not fair. That's just a way to shield yourself from anything that you don't want to hear. It's not my fault that the Bible doesn't explicitly mention vampires. It's not my fault that Eminem doesn't explicitly mention vampires. These aren't my fault. But in terms of proof, I've got all the same kinds of proof that you would accept for anything else. You know, you would accept a confession as proof. You would accept quotes as proof. But if you're not ready to hear the message, you'll keep raising the standard. You'll keep moving the bar so that I am forever outside of the reach of quote unquote proof. You'll forever keep me out of the ability to prove my point if you're not ready to hear that. So when you say, well, you got a pretty crazy story, I'd like you to prove it. Really? Is that what you really want? How? Were you looking for quotes? I have quotes. If you look up one of my videos, New World Order Symbolism and Predictive Programming Presentation, it's informally named video and an informally very informal video just in its creation, but there's your quotes. And there are many confessions out there. But if you're not ready to hear that, the very same confessions and the very same quotes simply won't do for you. You're going to keep raising the bar just so you can keep yourself shielded from what's going on. And another thing that needs to be pointed out, especially to the thumper types, is that what's in the Soul Travelers is not about what you think about the world. Their symbols are not based on what you think about the world. So you can go, well, you know, I don't believe in telepathy. I don't believe in thought forms. I don't believe in Zeus is actually just another name for God. Hey, you can believe whatever. I mean, I really want you to believe these things because it really does bring you a little bit closer to what's going on. But if you don't want to, that's fine. Understand that we're not